Hey everybody, it's yard sale time here in New England. Warm weather, spring has sprung. People are starting to have their clean outs and stuff like that going on, and spotted a Craigslist listing for a yard sale that was coming up last weekend, and they had mentioned they had machinist tools. So I contacted the individual and asked him about what was there. He kind of gave me a brief list of the kind of stuff that was there. I figured there might be something there I might be interested in. Told him that I would try and make the sale, but I had explained that I had to work that Saturday, so I wasn't going to be able to make the sale. And I asked him if he would mind if I came out and took a look. He seemed like a nice enough guy, and sure enough, he said, yeah, if you want to take a ride out, he said we're kind of just getting stuff ready and that, but he'd let me take a look. He also had an 11-draw Kennedy toolbox that I was interested in. I had seen it advertised on Craigslist. He was asking $250 for it. It had been up for a while, over a month. So I thought, well, maybe I could get a deal on that. So I figured I'd go out and check out the condition of that also. So I got out there and decided to pass on the toolbox. Because upon closer inspection, what I couldn't tell from the photograph, and what I could tell when I got there, was that the top cover of the box had been resprayed, and there was a little bit of paint flaking on the front there due to corrosion, and it wasn't the exact style that I've been pining for. Those of you who've seen some of my earlier videos know the 11 draw that I have now. I think it's model 366 or something like that. Love to get another one of that style, but anyways, so I ended up buying a few pieces there, which worked out great, and I'll show you those. And then I was just getting ready to do this video and show those items, and I came across this bag that I had sitting off to the side, and this must be I know I got these at the flea market a while back, and I don't think I ever even showed these, so this is probably from well over a month ago that I bought these few items, so I'll go through these real quick. So I was at the flea market, and one of my regular vendors had brought in an old machinist toolbox, and nothing I was interested in. It's kind of beat up, and but I was going through the drawers and saw a couple items here and there, and nothing that really nothing to get excited about, but in the end I just figured, well, I know that I've been able to deal with him before, work deals with him before, so I basically just ended up putting together a pile, and I think, this is going back a ways, but I think I got the whole shebang here for $15. I think that's what we ended up settling on. So I'll just break it down real quick. Okay, so the first item in the toolbox was this little tiny scale right here. This is a Brown & Sharp number 4. It's marked tempered. Looks like it's marked in 16ths on this side and 1/8ths on this side. And then it's got tiny graduations at the tail ends of it. So, B&S Manufacturing Company, Providence, Rhode Island. So, a little rusty, rust staining there. But it's a neat little scale. Next up is this little adjustable parallel, and I can't find any marking on it whatsoever. So I'm not sure if this was a shop-made project, or if it's just been cleaned so aggressively that somebody wore the markings off it. But I don't think so. I think this is actually just the way it came. It does look like there's some heavy polishing marks or something in there. Next item is this little pin vise. This is marked L.S. Starrett, Athol, Massachusetts. I can't find any numbers on it, but it sure looks like a little pin vise. It's got a hole in the tail end of it here. I don't know if my other ones are like that. I've got a couple that are kind of this style. Then I found this wiggler. This is a Craftsman model 4021 wiggler. And then I found this little tip, which probably is, since it was in the box, same drawer, it probably belongs to this wiggler. The reason why I mean, it's a Craftsman, and I've got a couple of these, more than I need really. But the reason why I grabbed this one was because it had this funky part on the end here, which I don't have any. That I don't think that has a tip like that. So that intrigued me. So if you guys have an opinion on why that would have a tip like that, I'd like to hear it. And apparently this gentleman worked for American Optical, which is a company in Southbridge, Massachusetts, that my father actually worked for. He worked there as a lens grinder back in the day when they actually made the eyeglass lenses at that factory. So it was a pretty famous factory in this neck of the woods anyways. And, you know, it went on to become pretty well known. I think Warner Lambert bought them out at some point, and there's a whole story as to how they ended up becoming what they ended up becoming. So this caught my eye as obviously some sort of a gauge, and because it was in the machinist box, I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then when I looked at it, turns out what it is it's marked AO Company lens and strap gauge. So this is actually a gauge that was used to measure, I imagine maybe to measure lenses and to measure maybe the width of straps. So this is not something that I really have a use for, but I just thought it was an interesting little historical piece. And maybe it's collectible, I'm not sure. It's got this interesting little curve right here, almost like to measure to check the contour, convexness of a lens, maybe, I don't know. So this next item is just an empty box that was actually in there. Oftentimes I'll find boxes like these when I'm going through a machinist toolbox, and there'll just be all kinds of small odds and ends in here. But I realized it was a Starrett box, so it's a top and bottom cover for a Starrett item, and these actually have some market value to them. Some people that, you know, might have the item that goes in here might be interested in actually buying it. And this is for a number 19 Protractor. So if I have a Starrett Protractor in my collection of stuff that doesn't have a box, I can put it in here, and if I don't, I could probably sell this on eBay for a few bucks. Again, just a box, nice little wooden box for a Brown and Sharp indicator. Marked Brown and Sharp Company, Providence, Rhode Island, and it's got the little original clasp on it, which is kind of cool. And then the other thing that's a real bonus is inside here are some points. So we got 3 little points for a Brown and Sharp indicator. This has got a really tiny ball on it. That's got a larger ball, and this one's got a ball with a hole in it almost. I might even have I wonder if this is for a best test. And the last item in that box was this little cardboard box, which when I first looked through it, I didn't really see anything that I was interested in, and I just decided, well, what the heck, there's a roughing end mill. It was either, well, I think that's a roughing end mill. This is marked High Pro 22 by 0.75 millimeter. High speed steel. TTM-8284, so I could look that up easy enough. HR 11874-241. And then a 3322. So if I If I really want to know what that is exactly. It's got the serrated edges like a roughing end mill, but the kind of the profile on the end's kind of weird. Huh. And then these look like counter bores. All right, these are, I don't know if these are easy outs or what these are. That's a tap. Another tiny tap. Stub drill. There's one with a pilot in it. So these are more like for spot facing, I guess. But these can be handy. And again, I didn't give a heck of a lot for this whole box, so no harm there. All right, that's the last of the old flea market items that I had forgotten about. Put this stuff away. You know, I want to open one of these up to see what it is. Well, guys, I can't make out what this says on it. Let me zoom in and show you the tip on this thing. So my tool and cutter gurus, if you want to tell me about what that's for, that'd be great. Just noticed this box is actually for a Cardwell capacitor. Must have been a motor start capacitor or something. All right. So now let's get to that yard sale find. Oh, hold the phone. I forgot about this one item here. This was with that flea market stuff, but this wasn't in the toolbox. This was in his display case. And he had $10 on it. I probably lumped this in with something else in order to get it. Probably, I think I got it for $7 or $8. And what it is it's a Brown and Sharp. It's an angle gauge or bevel gauge of some type. It's marked 552, clearly marked Brown and Sharp. It's got a little arm right here with a pointer, and it's got a little line scribed on it. And that line, when it lines up with the 0 here, apparently that makes this blade that sticks out over here at 90 degrees to this surface, or 0 degrees, and then it can be adjusted to 5 degrees plus or minus. So I'm not quite sure what that's for. It's an interesting little gauge, though. I'm sure I'll Google it and find out all about it. It's also interesting. It's got a thin blade on this side. It sticks out of this side. Now, I haven't been able to see a way to actually stow this. I thought maybe there might be a way that you could actually pull this blade out and slide it inside of this main part here for protection from being bent, but I haven't been able to get it to do that. So I don't know. It's an interesting little thing, a cute little gauge, and I don't know. It appealed to me, so I bought it. Well, I just took that blade all the way out, and boy, that was a mistake. Took me 10 minutes of fidgeting with the thing to get it back in there. But anyways, all right, so only 5 items I ended up buying. They had a lot of micrometers there in cases, Mitutoyo and some Brown & Sharp, and I think some older Starrett ones. But nothing I could use because couldn't buy them cheap enough for resale. They had them priced a little high, actually. This was an older couple. They had cleaned out, one of their parents' estates, I guess, and they had done some research online and looked on eBay and looked at what things had sold for previously on eBay, and were using that as a guide for pricing. The problem with that is that, well, condition. Whether it's got the case or not, the overall condition of the item, the fact that, well, if you're selling it local in a yard sale or a flea market type of atmosphere, your prices are going to have to be lower. You can't command eBay prices. There's a there's a line where once you cross a certain line with your pricing, and if you're firm on it, then you might as well just give up trying to sell it, unless it's something really special, and you might as well give up trying to sell it at the flea market or yard sale that you're running, and just go ahead and take the time, photograph it, list it on eBay, and then you're gonna pack it up and ship it. And even if your buyer pays the shipping, there's still your time involved in actually shipping the item and getting paid through PayPal, and letting PayPal take their cut, and of course letting eBay take their cut. So if you think about how much less effort you have to do if you just hand the person the thing and they hand you cash, and you're getting all of the cash, you're not getting, PayPal's not getting a cut of that money, and what your time is worth to sit down and list the items, and photograph them, list them, go through that whole rigmarole. Well, that's why sometimes you're just better off discounting and taking less. So I'm not sure why. This is going to be the last item I'll get to, because this was the best bargain right here. But for some reason, this micrometer, they undervalued it. And I actually didn't know the true value of this micrometer until after I bought it and brought it home and researched it. I just thought, well, I wanted this style, and I'll get to that in a moment. So other items there, like I said, micrometers. There was a depth micrometer set that was pretty nice, a Mitutoyo. I think I already got one. I think they wanted $65 for it. Might have been missing one rod, but otherwise good clean set. Again, I already have one, don't need another one. They had a tray full of dies, and the dies, they varied in size, but a lot of them were really pretty small, 3/8, 5/16, those sizes there. And then there were a couple of big, good sized, big large taps, maybe 2 or 3 large ones, and the rest of them were 3/4 inch, 5/8, nothing to really get too excited about. But the majority were smaller, I'd say 1/2 inch or smaller, and they had them just all loose in a box, and they told me there were 200 there. So I asked them, well, what were they asking for them? And they said, I would like to get 200 for it. They figured $1 a tap was a fair price. And if you wanted to pick through for tap sizes that you particularly needed, then $1 a tap is a great price. But when you're just buying a whole lump sum like that, that's the kind of thing that back when I would do that, and I've kind of really cooled off on that because I've got so many taps now, it's getting kind of silly. But back when I was going to these sales and buying entire boxes of taps in a shot like that, then I would probably pay $30 or $40 for a box like that. And they weren't going to take that, I could tell, so we didn't even get far into it. But in the box, there were 2 tap wrenches. One was a Starrett T-handled style with the chuck style, which I've got one like that, and so I passed on that because I've already got one of those. But then the other one was this nice little one right here. And I took a quick look at it and quickly realized that it was a Greenfield. So this is a Greenfield tap and die number 14, and I couldn't remember if I had this size or not. But I decided, well, what the heck. I made him an offer, and actually I got to check my notes. All right, so I was recording earlier today, and the camera battery suddenly died on me, and I forget where I left off. So I'm just going to say that I'm pretty sure I covered the tap handle, Greenfield tap and die, number 14 tap handle for $5. And then a Lixie hammer. I think that's where I left off, was with the Lixie hammer for $5. Then I spotted this thread wire set. Okay, for those of you who don't know, this is a set of various sizes of wires, and there's 3 in each size. And what this is for using the 3 wire method to measure threads. And I remember a while back I was thinking, oh, I wish I had one of these sets. So this card, this little instruction card that was in here, it's not marked with a maker's name anywhere on it. It's laminated, which is nice. Not even sure if that originally came with this little set. And the set's got all the sizes, not metric, imperial sizes, written on the inside here. And then on the outside of the case here, it's kind of a cheesy case, it just says thread measuring wires. Okay. And then somewhere on here, I do remember seeing, maybe it's on this card here, I think I remember seeing some reference about being made in Taiwan or something. Right here in small print it says made in Japan at the very bottom there. So I don't think it's a real expensive set. I didn't want to pay a lot for it. He had $15 on it, and what I had said was $5, and initially they didn't want to take the $5 for it, but then they eventually settled on taking $5 for this because I was willing to come to an agreement of $10 on this little jar of stub drills. So, it looks like we've got some multiples of the same size in here, but these little stub drills are handy. So I got 21 these little stub drills for $10, so that's just under 50 cents a piece. You can't complain about that. There are multiples here. The good news is they're all marked USA, so there aren't any cheapies in the bunch. Some of these though just marked PTD, so something twist drill, I would imagine. P. I don't know if there was a Pittsburgh twist drill. I've heard of Cleveland twist drill, but so I don't know. Not sure who the maker is on those. 2 1/2 inch, 7 15 30-seconds, 5 1/2 inch, 3 13 30-seconds, 3 3/8 inch, and this is the only one I can't find a size on. It's just got a large letter V. So $10 for that. So 5, 15, 20, 25. And then I got this for $20. They had asking price of $25 on this micrometer. So let me show you this little slice of heaven. So this is a Mitutoyo model 126-137 TMC-1. This is a 1-inch thread micrometer. So as soon as I saw, when I was looking through all the cases of all the micrometers, as soon as I saw this, I knew I wanted it. Because I figured that was pretty reasonable for a Mitutoyo micrometer, $25. Figured they also priced it figuring that people might want to haggle, and since I was already buying the other stuff, I knew I'd get it for the 20, which I did. Come to find out, this is a very expensive micrometer. Now, the thing I'm not sure about, and I still haven't been able to figure out, is how many of these little tips are supposed to come with one of these micrometers. I do know that used on eBay, these are trading for big money, and I even saw somebody trying to sell just an array of tips from one of these micrometers for quite a bit of money. So I got a really good deal on this, I think. So I don't know, there's tape over some of these holes indicating that maybe they never even had anything in them when it was bought. I'm assuming that when you buy the thread micrometer, maybe it comes with some of these and then you buy more as you need them. I'm not sure. But this was the, I believe this was the deal of the day. So it seems like it's in really good shape. Apparently you just insert the anvil of the size you need to use in here. Alright, so I just took took a look, and this one was actually in this hole here, and I just checked in with a magnifying glass. I could see that stenciled on the M5. So this one matches this one because it's a set. The 2 points, and then the opposite goes in the other anvil of the single point. So I've got M5, M4, M3, and M2. M1, if it came with it, is missing. And then these are taped out, so I think that this never came with those. And then these sizes down here are all marked W. Like W1-C. So I'm thinking maybe these are, maybe that's for like Whitworth thread or something like that. And so M6 is taped off like it was never there. And most of these ones down here are taped off. And these are all marked W2-C, W3-C, so on and so on. I'm wondering whether or not that's for Whitworth threads. So that ended up being a really good day, being able to go there and hit that before the weekend and pick up these items for 45 bucks. Oh, okay, I just got these this past weekend. This is the only 3 items that I got. So I figured I'd just add them on to the end of this episode that I'm taping now, even though the stuff that I just showed earlier I had gotten earlier on in the beginning of the month. It's actually, today is already May 2nd. No, today's already May 3rd. But anyways, this is a couple of scales and a Starrett number 269B taper gauge. Taper gauge is in excellent shape. So I'm really happy about getting that. He had 10 bucks on that. And what I did was I gave him the 10 for that and got him to throw in these 2 scales that he had. This scale is it's a regular 12-inch scale. This is a Starrett. It's got some rust on it. Okay, and then this one, this is a Lufkin Rule scale made in the USA, but right over here it says shrink. So I believe this is what is termed as a pattern maker's scale. And you don't want to get this scale accidentally mixed up with your, because, as you can see when I put them side by side, the scale that's marked shrink is actually a little bit longer. And the reason is that scale is actually made to compensate for shrinkage that happens when the metal cools in the mold, I think. So in other words, you're going to use this to make your pattern, and then I guess it's going to shrink just that amount. Keith Rucker does a whole talk about this kind of a scale in one of his episodes, one of his odds and ends episodes, I think. So mainly I wanted this taper gauge. So it's in really good shape.